Ready to change how you work and what you achieve. This audiobook gives practical steps to build discipline, break bad habits, and turn small daily actions into real results. You will learn clear routines, time limits that boost focus, simple tracking methods, and how to use discomfort to accelerate growth. Each chapter delivers actionable advice you can apply today, identifying destructive habits, setting measurable goals, focused time blocks, rewarding progress, removing distractions, weekly tracking, embracing discomfort, building routines, learning from failure, and public accountability. Followed consistently, these strategies increase productivity, strengthen willpower, and create steady momentum toward your biggest aims. Chapters are short, direct, and focused on one skill at a time, so you can practice immediately. If you want steady improvement and tools that actually work, subscribe for new audiobooks and updates. Subscribe now and start the change today. Join a community of people committed to consistent growth together. Number 1. Identify habits blocking your progress. Change begins when the truth about daily choices is faced without excuses. Most progress fails not because the goal is too large, but because small, repeated actions quietly undo every good intention. The first task is simple and brutal. Find the habits that steal time, energy, and willpower, and map exactly how they work. This is not a test of willpower, this is a test of attention. The clearer the map, the easier it is to change the route. Start with a real audit. For 3 full days, record every time a habit you suspect is harmful happens. Do not guess or summarize. Use a small notebook or a single notes app entry and write 5 items each time. The time, the trigger, what happened just before, the action, what you did, the duration, how long it lasted, and the immediate payoff, what you felt afterward. Relief, boredom, escape, pride. If tracking every moment feels extreme, do it for 1 full workday and 1 evening. The point is to collect raw data, not to judge. This record becomes evidence you cannot argue with. Common habit patterns will appear. Reaching for the phone when a difficult task appears, opening social media when tired, pausing work to check email every 10 minutes, walking past the kitchen and grabbing a snack without thinking. Each habit follows a loop. Cue, routine, reward. The cue can be external, a notification, an empty inbox, a familiar time of day, or internal, anxiety, boredom, fatigue. The routine is the behavior itself. The reward is often emotional, distraction, relief, a small hit of pleasure. Naming those pieces removes the mystery and gives control. Translate observation into specific claims. For every repeated behavior in the audit, write 1 sentence that captures the problem in a measurable way. Examples: between 8 am and 10 am. Phone checks interrupt focused work for a total of 45 minutes. Or between 3 am and 4:30 p.m. Snacking adds 300–500 calories and correlates with late afternoon sluggishness. These statements remove vagueness and set a target for change. A vague complaint like "I waste time online" is impossible to fix. A precise sentence makes a single testable problem. Next, trace the triggers. This is where the most durable fixes appear. If the cue is internal, create a short list of emotions or physical states tied to the habit. Anxiety before a hard task is one. Boredom during a repetitive meeting is another. Hunger or low blood sugar will trigger certain behaviors. If the cue is environmental, map it. Which room, which device, which time. Once the trigger is clear, design 1 immediate intervention that targets it directly. Interventions must be concrete and minimal. If the trigger is the notification sound, disable the sound or turn off non-essential notifications. If the trigger is walking by the kitchen, put the snack drawer out of sight or place a note on the counter reminding of the goal. If the trigger is anxiety, create a 2-minute grounding routine. Sit upright, breathe slowly for 6 deep breaths. Name one small next step for the task. The simpler the intervention, the more likely it is to be used. Replace the routine with a better option rather than trying to erase the routine outright. Habits serve a purpose, so supply an alternative that meets the same need. If scrolling provides distraction and minor pleasure, take a 2-minute walk, stretch, or read 1 page of a book. If procrastination provides relief from anxiety, substitute a 10-minute focused sprint on a smaller, clearly defined subtask. The replacement must be specific. Do something else is not a plan. If the urge to check social media arises, stand and walk for 2 minutes and then return to the current task for a 25-minute block is measurable and testable. Use implementation intentions. Form simple, conditional plans in this exact structure. If trigger, then I will action. These are short, declarative sentences that program behavior. Examples. If I reach for my phone during focused work, then I will place the phone face down in another room. If the urge to snack between meals comes, then I will drink a glass of water and wait 10 minutes. The brain responds to concrete scripts. An implementation intention reduces the moment of ambivalence where old habits win. Apply friction and convenience in opposite directions. Make the bad behavior harder and the good behavior easier. Increase the steps needed to perform the harmful habit. Delete the tempting app. Log out of the account. Put the device in a different room. Move the sugar jar to a less accessible cabinet. Decrease the steps for the desired action. Keep running shoes by the bed. Put the journal on the pillow. Have healthy snacks prepped in a visible container. Small physical changes produce a disproportionate effect on repeated behavior. Measure progress with simple metrics. Pick one single metric for each habit targeted. For example, number of times the phone was checked during work hours, minutes spent on social media each day, number of unplanned snacks, or number of deep work blocks completed. Record that number daily, weekly, compare totals and reflect on patterns. Numbers remove moralizing language and highlight trends. A small improvement over time compounds. A 1% daily improvement across weeks becomes noticeable. A single conquered impulse builds confidence for the next one. Introduce short experiments. Treat habit change as iterative testing rather than moral struggle. Choose one habit, implement one intervention for 7 days, and observe what happens. If the change sticks, continue and increase difficulty. If it fails, analyze the audit data and iterate. Experiments give permission to fail small, learn fast, and adjust without drama. They also convert abstract goals into manageable cycles that the mind can understand, decide, do, observe, refine. Use scheduled review times to keep the work honest. At the end of each week, spend 10 minutes answering specific questions. What worked this week? What did not? What patterns kept recurring? How did the body respond? Was energy higher, lower, or the same? Was emotional reactivity different? What one change will be made next week? These reviews anchor progress in reality and ensure slow, steady improvements instead of abrupt, unsustainable overhauls. Practice voluntary discomfort in measured doses. Stoic practice trains the will by exposing it to controlled short-term discomfort. That does not mean punishing oneself. It means normalizing the feeling of mild resistance so that the brain becomes less reactive to challenge. For example, delay a comfort. If the urge is to reach for the phone, the moment a task gets hard, practice waiting for 5 minutes before giving in. If caffeine is used as a crutch to start the workday, try beginning without it twice a week. These exercises reduce the habit's grip, because they teach that discomfort passes and that action can occur in its presence. Reframe identity. Habits that block progress often attach to identity statements. I am someone who cannot finish what I start. Replace these with small, true identity claims tied to behavior. Make a short list of identity sentences anchored in action. I am someone who prepares work the night before. Or, I am someone who takes a walk when the afternoon slump arrives. Identity change is slow, but when actions prove the identity true repeatedly, the mind accepts the new story. Use tiny, repeatable behaviors that can be repeated often enough to form belief. Bring accountability into the process. Share the specific habit goal with one person and set a check-in schedule. Public commitments work because they add a social consequence to backsliding. Commit to a weekly message or a brief report. Choose an accountability partner who provides direct feedback rather than indulgent sympathy. Accountability is not punishment. It is a structure that aligns private practice with public intention. Recognize emotional fallout and prepare for it. Breaking habits can create an unexpected sense of emptiness or increased anxiety because the old routine offered a predictable emotional outcome. Prepare a short list of replacement emotional supports. A 60-second breathing exercise, 5 minutes of sunlight, a brief call with a friend, or listening to one uplifting song. A prepared emotional toolkit reduces the chance that a single surge of feeling will collapse the new plan. Finally, accept that the audit will reveal inconvenient truths. Old habits defended themselves for reasons that made sense at their origin. Some were survival strategies, others shortcuts, developed out of overload. Acknowledge what each habit provided without excusing it. This approach is steady, not punitive. The Stoic stance is to observe clearly, choose what is within control, and act with discipline. Use the audit as the basis for deliberate change. Choose one habit to remove and one habit to introduce. Keep interventions small, measurable, and testable. Review weekly. Iterate relentlessly. The path out of self-sabotage is concrete. It is a sequence of small, visible choices that accumulate. The first step is not heroism, it is attention. The work begins by naming what repeatedly pulls you away from your aims, and by designing one small, immediate action that interrupts the pattern. Execute that action today, measure it tomorrow, and reflect on it at the end of the week. Over time, the map created by these tiny corrections becomes a new landscape of action. The moment-to-moment life changes, behavior by behavior, until improvement is no longer forced but natural, because attention, practice, and discipline shaped it into habit. Number 2. Set clear, measurable daily goals. Clarity is the foundation of achievement. Without a precise target, effort becomes scattered, energy dissipates, and progress slows. Setting goals is not merely about writing a vague intention like "I want to be better" or "I need to improve." Those statements are wishes, not guides. Goals must be measurable, tangible, and specific. A measurable daily goal transforms an abstract desire into a concrete challenge that can be acted upon consistently. The power of daily goals lies in their ability to translate long-term ambition into immediate, achievable action steps. Each day becomes a building block rather than a foggy aspiration. The first step in creating measurable goals is to define the outcome you truly want. Consider what improvement looks like in concrete terms. Avoid generalities. For instance, instead of "I want to read more," choose "I will read 20 pages of a non-fiction book each morning." Instead of "I want to exercise," define it as "I will run 3 kilometers before lunch." The specificity is crucial because the mind responds to clear instructions. Ambiguity allows excuses and distractions to creep in, while clarity compels action. When a goal is precise, it creates a natural structure for the day and aligns behavior with intention. Next, quantify the effort. Every goal must have a measurable component. Numbers provide feedback, and feedback creates motivation. When a daily target is numeric, such as completing 50 push-ups, writing 1,000 words, or meditating for 20 minutes, the result is visible and undeniable. It cannot be rationalized away. Measurement provides accountability to yourself. At the end of each day, you know definitively whether you met the target, fell short, or exceeded it. This creates a system where the results speak louder than the feelings of motivation or fatigue. Motivation fluctuates, but numbers provide a consistent benchmark. Break larger ambitions into micro goals. A significant transformation cannot occur overnight. Large goals, such as publishing a book, learning a new skill, or building a business, are achieved one day at a time. Identify the smallest step that directly contributes to the larger goal and commit to completing it daily. For example, writing a book can be reduced to writing 500 words each morning, researching one key concept, or editing one page. Each micro goal is small enough to achieve, yet meaningful enough to move the bigger picture forward. Daily success compounds and generates momentum. Momentum is the unseen force that transforms incremental action into significant achievement. Anchor goals to routines. A measurable daily goal is far easier to accomplish when tied to an existing habit or schedule. Humans thrive on consistency. Identify times of day when energy and focus are highest, and place your goals within those windows. If mornings are productive, schedule writing, reading, or problem-solving first. If evenings allow reflection, reserve that time for review, planning, or skill practice. Embedding goals into routines eliminates indecision and creates a natural rhythm. When action becomes predictable, the brain expends less energy on willpower and the habit strengthens with repetition. Write down the goals. The act of recording a goal transforms it from an idea into a commitment. Physical or digital journaling works equally well, but visibility matters. Place goals somewhere you see them multiple times a day. Each glance reinforces your intent and keeps your focus sharp. The written word carries weight. It signals to the mind that this is not fleeting inspiration, but a concrete agreement with yourself. Review them each morning to set the tone for the day, and each evening to measure completion. This cycle of planning and review instills discipline and ensures continuous alignment between action and objective. Use time frames to sharpen focus. A daily goal is effective because it has a built-in deadline, the end of the day. This deadline creates urgency, forces prioritization, and discourages procrastination. Without a time limit, the mind will rationalize delays, and small distractions will accumulate. Setting a daily goal demands that attention remains on what matters now. Each day is an opportunity to win or learn, and the 24-hour frame keeps evaluation precise and relevant. Progress is no longer hypothetical, it is immediate, accountable, and actionable. Incorporate measurable indicators of success. Avoid goals that are purely subjective, like "I will try harder" or "I will feel more productive." Instead, identify specific markers that indicate completion. For writing, it might be word count. For fitness, it might be distance, repetitions, or time. For learning, it might be number of problems solved or lessons completed. These markers provide clarity about what success looks like and allow daily reflection to be grounded in reality. They prevent self-deception and create honest feedback loops that are critical for growth. Prepare for obstacles before they arrive. A measurable daily goal can be derailed by fatigue, distractions, or unexpected events. Anticipate these disruptions by designing contingency plans. If a morning writing session is interrupted, Schedule a 30-minute session later in the day. If energy dips, break the goal into shorter segments instead of abandoning it. Anticipation and planning transform potential failure into manageable adjustments. This proactive mindset reinforces discipline and ensures the consistency of effort, which is far more important than perfection. Reflect at the end of each day. Measurement without reflection is incomplete. Spend a few minutes each evening analyzing whether the daily goal was met and why or why not. Ask questions that are honest, detailed, and solution-oriented. Which actions contributed to success? Which decisions led to delay or distraction? What patterns can be observed? What adjustments will improve tomorrow? Reflection turns raw activity into deliberate learning and strengthens the connection between intention, action, and outcome. The insights gained will improve decision-making and increase efficiency over time. Visualize the outcome as a reinforcement tool. While measurable daily goals emphasize action, it is equally powerful to hold a clear mental image of the result. Visualizing completion helps anchor effort in purpose. Imagine finishing the page of writing, completing the exercise set, or mastering a skill by day's end. This image energizes the brain, providing a subtle form of motivation that complements discipline. The combination of visualization and measurement aligns both emotional and practical commitment to the goal. Celebrate completion intentionally. Every time a measurable daily goal is achieved, recognize the accomplishment in a way that reinforces behavior. This does not require extravagance. Acknowledging success with a mental nod, a journal entry, or a brief reflection is enough to signal to the mind that action leads to reward. Positive reinforcement strengthens the neural pathways associated with discipline and gradually converts effort into habit. Habit formation is accelerated when each small victory is consciously registered and linked to satisfaction. Link goals to higher purpose. Daily measurable goals are not isolated tasks. They are instruments of long-term growth. Remind yourself why each goal matters. If the goal is to write 500 words, see it as contributing to a book that will educate, inspire, or transform others. If the goal is to exercise, connect it to energy, health, and longevity. Purpose injects meaning into the repetitive nature of daily effort and shields motivation from exhaustion or monotony. Each small action becomes a deliberate step toward a larger vision. Adapt and iterate. No single formula fits every day or every individual. Life changes, energy fluctuates, and unforeseen events occur. Daily goals must be flexible yet persistent. Adjust numbers, timing, or routines as needed, while maintaining commitment to the underlying growth objective. This balance between adaptability and consistency ensures that discipline remains resilient under varying circumstances. Success is built not on rigid adherence, but on persistent, intelligent alignment of effort with intention. Commit to the cumulative effect. The power of measurable daily goals is revealed over weeks, months, and years. The repetition of small intentional actions compounds. Writing 500 words daily may seem insignificant today, but produces tens of thousands of words in a year. Practicing a skill for 20 minutes daily turns into mastery over time. The key is consistency, not intensity. Each day's measurable action adds to a foundation that becomes unshakable. Small improvements stacked over time yield extraordinary transformation. Finally, maintain honesty in tracking. A measurable daily goal is only effective if the record reflects reality. Avoid exaggeration, rationalization, or mental shortcuts. Accurate tracking illuminates patterns, exposes weaknesses, and validates progress. Discipline grows when honesty is non-negotiable. Every day becomes a practice in integrity, self-awareness, and responsibility, which are as essential to achievement as the actions themselves. The act of facing the day's record, unfiltered and unembellished, trains character and strengthens resilience. The practice of setting clear, measurable daily goals transforms intention into action, chaos into focus, and aspiration into achievement. Each day becomes an opportunity to prove capability, refine skills, and grow closer to long-term ambitions. With clarity, specificity, and consistent reflection, the mind learns to operate in a structured, efficient way. Discipline emerges naturally as results become visible, habits reinforce themselves, and the path forward becomes unmistakably defined. Every day matters because it is the foundation upon which the future is built. Measurable daily goals are not merely a tool, they are a commitment to oneself, a declaration that growth is deliberate, actionable, and inevitable. Number 3. Use time limits to focus. Time is the single resource that never replenishes, and how it is managed determines the scale of achievement. Most people underestimate how much they waste, because tasks are approached without boundaries. Without a time limit, the mind drifts, attention fragments, and effort loses intensity. To focus effectively, each task must be bounded by a defined period. Time limits are not arbitrary constraints. They are catalysts that compel action, sharpen attention, and convert potential into tangible results. When a clear deadline exists, the brain automatically prioritizes, eliminates distractions, and accelerates decision-making. The first principle of using time limits is to determine the task's true scope. Break down what needs to be accomplished into a single actionable component that can reasonably be completed within a specific window. Tasks that are too large create stress, procrastination, and a sense of overwhelm. Tasks that are too small fail to challenge the mind and waste the momentum that focus generates. The goal is to identify a unit of work that is meaningful, measurable, and achievable. This becomes the canvas on which time-bound focus operates. Once the task is defined, assign a precise duration. Even rough estimates are more effective than none. A common approach is to set a concentrated block of time, 25, 30, or 50 minutes, during which the task receives undivided attention. Short bursts prevent fatigue and maintain mental energy, while longer blocks foster deep engagement. The clock acts as a silent coach, urging the mind to prioritize essential actions and avoid trivial diversions. As the timer counts down, awareness heightens and efficiency naturally increases because the mind recognizes the finite window in which progress can occur. Preparation before the timed session is critical. Clear the workspace of distractions. Close unnecessary browser tabs, silence notifications, and place all required materials within reach. Interruptions dilute focus and negate the effectiveness of time limits. When the environment signals that work will occur in an uninterrupted period, the mind is more likely to enter a state of flow. This preparation is itself a habit that reinforces discipline, creating a physical and mental boundary around the time block that protects it from external or internal interference. During the timed period, commit fully to the task. Avoid multitasking. The brain cannot focus effectively on multiple objectives simultaneously. Every attempt to divide attention increases cognitive load and reduces output. 100% of attention must be devoted to the selected activity. If an unrelated thought arises, note it briefly on a notepad and return immediately to the task. This simple act prevents mental drift without giving distractions the power to derail the session. The timer provides a natural checkpoint. If focus slips, the session is not wasted. It is measured and corrected in the next block. Time limits also improve decision-making. Open-ended tasks encourage endless tinkering, overthinking, and hesitation. A fixed duration forces prioritization and immediate choices. Decisions are made on relevance, efficiency, and impact rather than perfection. The pressure of limited time clarifies which steps truly matter and which are distractions, masquerading as work. This principle extends beyond work into personal development. A constrained approach sharpens judgment, trains discernment, and reduces wasted effort on inconsequential details. After the session ends, reflection is essential. Evaluate what was accomplished within the time frame. Compare actual output to expectations. Identify what strategies improved efficiency and what habits caused distraction. Reflection ensures that each time-limited session becomes a learning opportunity, not just a task completed. Over time, patterns emerge, showing which time windows maximize focus and which approaches consistently yield results. This ongoing adjustment makes the practice of time limits self-correcting and increasingly effective. Implement incremental increases in time once the mind adapts. Start with manageable blocks, then gradually extend them as concentration capacity grows. The goal is sustained attention without overwhelming cognitive resources. Extending time too quickly creates mental fatigue and reduces effectiveness. The incremental approach allows focus to strengthen naturally, enhancing both endurance and quality of output. Discipline grows as the mind learns that longer sessions are achievable when structured correctly, and attention can be maintained without collapse. Pair time limits with precise goals for maximum impact. A block of time alone is insufficient if the task is undefined or ambiguous. Each session must have a clear, measurable objective. This pairing transforms abstract effort into concrete progress. For example, a 30-minute session can focus on writing 500 words, solving 5 problems, or reviewing 3 key lessons. When time and objective converge, the session becomes a concentrated burst of productivity, and completion produces both satisfaction and tangible results. The brain associates focused effort with reward, reinforcing the behavior. Rest periods are as vital as focused time. Human cognition operates in cycles. Without breaks, efficiency diminishes, mistakes increase, and motivation wanes. Schedule short intervals between timed sessions to restore energy and mental clarity. A 5-minute walk, stretching, or hydration can reset attention for the next period. The disciplined use of time limits recognizes that focus is not a continuous stream, but a sequence of high-intensity bursts, punctuated by restorative pauses. These cycles maintain both performance and resilience over extended periods. Time limits also cultivate urgency. Even when tasks are appealing, the human mind tends to drift when there is no imposed structure. Deadlines, even self-imposed ones, inject a sense of immediacy. This sense of urgency triggers adrenaline, heightens attention, and activates problem-solving skills. It transforms passive effort into intentional action. The mind becomes conditioned to recognize that time is finite, and every moment counts. Over time, this conditioning increases the speed and quality of performance, training the brain to operate efficiently under realistic constraints. Tracking outcomes enhances the practice. Maintain a simple log of sessions, duration, task completed, level of focus, and obstacles encountered. Review this record weekly to analyze patterns. Which times of day consistently produced maximum output? Which tasks required longer periods? Which distractions were recurring? Data provides objective insight, guiding adjustments and reinforcing accountability. A time-limited system without feedback is incomplete. Measurement closes the loop and transforms effort into evidence-based improvement. Time limits also encourage prioritization under constraints. When every task has a set window, decisions about what deserves attention become sharper. Non-essential activities are naturally deprioritized because their value relative to the limited time is immediately apparent. Focus becomes selective, not indiscriminate. This approach develops the skill of distinguishing what truly matters in the moment, a critical component of efficiency and effectiveness in all areas of life. Anticipate resistance and plan around it. The mind often resists constraints, perceiving them as limitations on freedom. Recognize that this discomfort is part of the process. Reframe the challenge. Time limits are not restrictions, but tools that concentrate energy and accelerate achievement. Embrace the slight tension as a signal that focus is being trained. Each successful session reinforces the ability to manage attention under pressure, strengthening mental resilience. Finally, integrate time limits into daily structure, making them habitual. Consistent use trains the brain to enter periods of focused engagement automatically. Over weeks, the practice becomes internalized. The mind begins to allocate attention efficiently without conscious effort. Productivity ceases to depend on fleeting motivation and instead becomes a function of disciplined structure. Time limits, when used correctly, transform scattered energy into continuous growth, turning ordinary days into vehicles of substantial progress. Using time limits to focus is not a tactic, it is a discipline that sharpens every action. Each session teaches the mind to prioritize, concentrate, and act decisively. The practice builds awareness, reinforces measurement, and strengthens endurance. Over time, the daily use of structured time transforms the relationship with work, with learning, and with personal development. Attention becomes a skill that can be cultivated deliberately, and achievement becomes a natural outcome of disciplined, time-bound effort. Every moment gains clarity, every task becomes actionable, and consistent use converts potential into measurable success. Number 4. Reward yourself for small wins. Progress is built one step at a time, and yet most people overlook the importance of acknowledging those steps. The human mind is wired to respond to reward. Without it, effort can feel empty and motivation can dwindle. Rewarding yourself for small wins is not indulgence or weakness. It is a strategic tool to reinforce behavior, strengthen habits, and maintain momentum. Each accomplishment, no matter how minor it seems, carries significance in the larger arc of personal growth. Celebrating these moments trains the brain to recognize effort as valuable, making it easier to continue pushing forward even when the road is long and challenging. The first principle is to define what constitutes a small win. A small win is a task completed, a target met, or a positive action executed consistently. It is specific and measurable. It could be finishing a chapter of a book, completing a focused work session, executing a planned workout, or solving a challenging problem. The key is that the win is tangible and observable. This clarity ensures the reward is linked directly to effort, creating a causal connection between action and positive reinforcement. Vague or generalized notions of success lack the focus needed to trigger meaningful motivation. Timing is critical when applying rewards. The most effective reinforcement occurs immediately or very shortly after the achievement. Delayed recognition reduces the connection between behavior and reward. After completing a small task, pause intentionally and mark the achievement in a tangible way. This could be a brief acknowledgement, a moment of reflection, a note in a journal, or a short celebratory gesture. This immediate recognition signals to the brain that the effort mattered, releasing a subtle sense of satisfaction that reinforces the behavior. Over time, the mind begins to seek these small rewards automatically, increasing the likelihood of repeat action. Rewards should be meaningful, but not counterproductive. The purpose is to reinforce progress, not undo it. For example, after completing a writing goal, enjoying a cup of tea, a short walk outside, or 5 minutes of music can provide satisfaction without undermining the effort. The reward should feel satisfying psychologically, giving a sense of completion and achievement while remaining aligned with long-term objectives. When chosen wisely, small rewards enhance self-control and cultivate a positive feedback loop that drives further success. Variety strengthens the effect of rewards. Repeating the same reward too often diminishes its impact. The brain becomes habituated, and the sense of novelty that sparks motivation fades. Introduce subtle variations to maintain interest and engagement. Some days the reward could be a brief relaxation period, on other days a small creative indulgence or connecting with a supportive friend. The essence is variety within limits. Rewards remain consistent in value, but vary enough to maintain anticipation and excitement. This approach keeps motivation alive and prevents stagnation. Link rewards to effort, not outcome alone. Often, people tie celebration to perfect results or complete success. This creates unnecessary pressure and disappointment when progress is gradual. Instead, celebrate the completion of the intended effort regardless of perfection. Completing a workout regardless of pace, or finishing a draft, regardless of flaws, deserves recognition. Reinforcing effort over outcome trains resilience and emphasizes action over judgment. This mindset encourages persistence, knowing that consistent effort produces cumulative results over time. The method of tracking small wins amplifies their impact. Maintain a visual record, such as a journal, checklist, or digital tracker, where each accomplishment is marked. Seeing progress accumulate provides a tangible sense of growth, which the mind interprets as evidence of capability and competence. This record also serves as a motivational tool on days when energy feels low, offering visible proof that consistent action yields results. Momentum is built not only through effort, but through recognition of accumulated effort. Pair rewards with reflection to deepen their effect. After acknowledging a small win, spend a few minutes analyzing what contributed to success. Identify the strategies that worked, the decisions that guided you, and the obstacles that were overcome. This reflection strengthens the connection between actions and positive outcomes. The mind not only experiences satisfaction, but also internalizes lessons, making future action more effective. Rewarding success becomes inseparable from learning, reinforcing both motivation and growth simultaneously. Avoid over-reliance on external rewards. The most enduring form of reinforcement comes from internal acknowledgement. Train the mind to experience satisfaction intrinsically, appreciating the process of action itself. External rewards are valuable for establishing patterns initially, but long-term discipline depends on the internalization of recognition. Celebrate small wins with a sense of personal pride, a mental note of accomplishment, or a moment of gratitude. These internal markers of progress sustain motivation even when external incentives are unavailable or impractical. Create a hierarchy of rewards that aligns with larger goals. Small wins deserve small celebrations, while more significant achievements can merit larger recognition. This tiered approach prevents overvaluation of minor actions and underappreciation of major milestones. It also teaches proportionality, helping the mind evaluate effort realistically. For instance, finishing a page of a report may earn a short break, while completing a full chapter may earn a more substantial indulgence. Proportional rewards maintain balance between immediate gratification and long-term discipline. Anticipation enhances the effectiveness of rewards. Before beginning a task, establish a clear reward for completion. This foresight primes motivation by providing a tangible reason to engage with effort, even when intrinsic interest is low. Knowing a specific positive experience awaits creates a psychological bridge between action and satisfaction, energizing behavior and reducing resistance. This strategy is particularly useful for tasks that feel tedious or challenging, transforming them into opportunities for small, meaningful wins. Use social reinforcement when appropriate. Sharing accomplishments with supportive individuals amplifies the psychological impact of small wins. Recognition from peers, mentors, or friends validates effort and strengthens motivation. The key is to share intentionally with people who encourage growth and celebrate progress without judgment or comparison. Social reinforcement adds another layer of positive feedback, accelerating habit formation and creating an environment where progress becomes visible and valued beyond the self. Consistency is the core principle. Small wins lose their power if recognition is irregular or sporadic. Establish a rhythm of acknowledging progress every day. Even brief acknowledgement reinforces neural pathways associated with achievement and persistence. Over time, this consistent recognition cultivates an internal structure where effort naturally produces satisfaction. The brain learns to associate action with reward, building a self-sustaining cycle of motivation that strengthens resilience and supports long-term goals. Connect small wins to identity. Each acknowledgement reinforces the narrative of the self as capable, disciplined, and effective. Instead of celebrating external outcomes alone, recognize that consistent action reflects personal values and desired identity. For example, completing a challenging work session affirms the identity of a focused and persistent individual. This alignment between action and self-perception deepens commitment and ensures that motivation is not fleeting, but integrated into the person's character. Small wins, then, are not merely tasks, they are affirmations of who you are becoming. Finally, recognize that small wins are the building blocks of transformation. Massive success is rarely the result of a single heroic act. It is the accumulation of consistent, deliberate, and acknowledged progress over time. Each small victory shapes perception, trains the mind, and reinforces habits that compound into lasting achievement. Rewarding effort ensures that this process is sustainable, enjoyable, and psychologically reinforcing. The act of recognition transforms ordinary moments into meaningful milestones, making progress tangible, motivation resilient, and discipline self-reinforcing. Rewarding oneself for small wins is not optional. It is a strategic practice that fuels consistency, builds confidence, and reinforces the behaviors that lead to growth. Each acknowledgement strengthens habit formation, trains the brain to value effort, and transforms daily challenges into sources of satisfaction. The cumulative effect of celebrating small victories is extraordinary. A life marked by steady progress, strengthened discipline, and a resilient, motivated mind. Recognition, when applied intentionally and consistently, turns incremental action into unstoppable momentum, guiding every day toward meaningful achievement. Number 5. Remove distractions before starting tasks. Focus is the engine of achievement, and distractions are the brakes that slow momentum. Every task demands mental clarity, and even minor interruptions fracture attention, delay completion, and drain energy. Removing distractions before starting a task is not a suggestion, it is a requirement for meaningful progress. The act of preparation signals to the mind that work is deliberate and sacred. Each distraction left unchecked subtly trains the brain to prioritize novelty over importance. Mastery of attention begins with creating an environment where focus can thrive, and every element of the space and routine reinforces purpose. Start by examining the environment. Physical clutter, visual noise, or chaotic surroundings constantly pull attention away from the task at hand. A desk littered with unrelated items, a crowded digital workspace, or even a noisy background creates friction that interrupts thought patterns. Clear the space intentionally. Remove items not required for the specific task, leaving only essential tools and references. This physical simplification reduces cognitive load, minimizes friction, and prevents the mind from wandering toward unrelated stimuli. The result is an immediate improvement in clarity and readiness to engage fully. Digital distractions are particularly insidious. Notifications, pop-ups, and the constant lure of social media fragment attention with alarming speed. Before beginning work, silence or disable all alerts that are not directly related to the task. Close irrelevant tabs, log out of non-essential accounts, and place devices out of reach if possible. The brain craves novelty, and every notification offers a small hit of dopamine that disrupts focus. By proactively controlling these interruptions, the mind can invest energy in the work itself, rather than being pulled toward constant, low-level stimulation. Set boundaries in advance with others. Interruptions from colleagues, family members, or friends are often unavoidable if expectations are not communicated. Inform those around you of your working period, requesting minimal disruption. Use signals such as a closed door, headphones, or a visible indicator that focus is in progress. This reduces the chance that external factors will break concentration and reinforces the importance of the time allocated for the task. Boundaries are essential because attention is as much a social construct as an internal state. Internal distractions must also be addressed. Thoughts, worries, or random planning often derail focus without external triggers. One effective method is a brief pre-task ritual to settle the mind. Spend 1 to 3 minutes reviewing the task, noting key objectives, and committing to completion. Brief meditation, focused breathing, or writing a short to-do note can calm internal chatter. By acknowledging potential mental interruptions in advance, the mind is less likely to wander during the task, maintaining sustained attention. Break tasks into manageable segments. Large, undefined projects invite procrastination and distraction because the mind perceives them as overwhelming. Define the task clearly, then set a boundary around its execution. A 30-minute segment, a defined chapter, or a concrete problem to solve allows the brain to channel focus effectively. With clearly bounded tasks, the mind recognizes completion as achievable and resists the temptation to seek irrelevant stimulation. Breaking work into segments transforms a daunting challenge into an actionable series of focused efforts. Optimize sensory inputs. Lighting, sound, and temperature subtly influence attention. Harsh lighting, uncomfortable seating, or excessive noise can fragment focus. Adjust the environment to suit prolonged engagement. Soft but adequate lighting, a stable and comfortable chair, and ambient sound conducive to concentration. Some individuals benefit from background instrumental music, while others need silence. Understanding personal sensory preferences allows the work environment to become a supportive partner in concentration rather than a hidden source of distraction. Eliminate multitasking before it begins. Attempting multiple activities simultaneously dilutes cognitive resources and diminishes the quality of each effort. Prioritize one task and dedicate undivided attention to it until completion or until a predefined stopping point. The brain functions most effectively when energy is concentrated, not diffused. By committing to single tasking, the mind builds momentum, and each completed segment generates satisfaction and motivation that fuels subsequent work. Multitasking is the enemy of deep engagement and prolonged achievement. Predefine contingency plans for predictable interruptions. Certain distractions are unavoidable. Urgent calls, environmental noise, or scheduled meetings may arise. Anticipate them in advance by carving buffer periods into the day or establishing protocols for pausing and resuming work without losing momentum. These strategies reduce stress caused by unexpected breaks and prevent minor disturbances from escalating into full derailments. Preparation transforms uncertainty into manageable intervals, allowing focus to remain largely intact despite inevitable disruptions. Use visual cues to reinforce attention. A simple yet effective tactic is to create a workspace that signals work mode. This could be as straightforward as a clean desk, a particular notebook open, or a timer set for the task. These cues condition the mind to recognize that focus is expected and that distractions are temporarily suspended. The brain responds to consistent patterns, and visual reinforcement strengthens the mental habit of entering a concentrated state efficiently. Over time, the sight of these cues alone can trigger readiness to engage deeply. Leverage the concept of micro breaks to maintain attention. Continuous effort without pauses can lead to mental fatigue and susceptibility to distraction. Short, planned breaks between focus intervals refresh energy and sharpen clarity. A 5-minute pause for stretching, hydration, or brief movement resets attention, making it less likely for the mind to seek interruption from irrelevant sources. The discipline of structured breaks creates sustainable focus, enabling longer and more productive work sessions. Track and analyze patterns of distraction. Over time, certain triggers may become obvious: email notifications, social media, environmental noise, or internal worry. Maintain a log of what interrupts focus and when it occurs. Understanding these patterns allows targeted intervention. The brain is naturally inclined to respond to triggers, but awareness enables control. By systematically identifying recurring interruptions, the work environment and personal habits can be adjusted to create optimal conditions for concentration. Anchor focus with defined outcomes. Before beginning a task, clarify what completion looks like. A clearly articulated objective directs attention and reduces the likelihood of wandering. The brain seeks measurable results. Knowing what success entails ensures energy is directed toward relevant action. Without a concrete endpoint, attention meanders and distraction fills the void. By defining the desired result, the task becomes a beacon that guides effort, keeping focus sharp from start to finish. Adopt accountability mechanisms. Even with distractions removed, self-discipline can waver. Implementing methods to track adherence to focus periods, such as timers, checklists, or accountability partners, ensures that the effort remains consistent. Knowing that progress will be reviewed motivates the mind to stay engaged and minimizes the temptation to shift attention to non-essential activities. Accountability reinforces the habit of distraction-free work over time. Internal motivation and external discipline work best together. Removing distractions is a structural intervention, but its effectiveness increases when the mind is actively engaged in the task with purpose. Begin sessions with clear intent and a strong understanding of why the task matters. Motivation aligns with environment. A compelling reason to act strengthens the capacity to resist diversions. The combination of structural preparation and intentional purpose maximizes output and fosters sustained achievement. Removing distractions before starting tasks is not merely a preliminary step, it is the foundation for high-level performance. The careful orchestration of environment, devices, social boundaries, sensory inputs, and internal states establishes the conditions for deep work. When each element is controlled, the mind can concentrate fully. Decision-making becomes more efficient and progress accelerates. Sustained focus becomes habitual. Tasks are completed with greater precision, and the cumulative effect transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary results. Mastery of attention through the elimination of distractions turns potential into tangible achievement, reinforcing discipline and enabling consistent growth. Number 6. Track progress consistently every week. Consistency is the backbone of transformation, and yet many people fail to recognize its full impact because they do not measure it. Without tracking progress, effort becomes a guessing game, and improvement remains abstract. Progress exists in the accumulation of small, deliberate actions, and each week presents an opportunity to observe, analyze, and refine those actions. Tracking progress is not merely about checking boxes. It is about creating a clear mirror that reflects reality, showing where momentum is building, where energy is being wasted, and where adjustments are required. This process transforms intentions into measurable results and ensures that effort compounds over time. Start with defining what should be measured. Goals must be translated into quantifiable metrics to provide meaningful insight. Ambiguity has no place in effective tracking. For instance, instead of noting "I practiced more," write "I completed 5 focused sessions of 30 minutes each." Instead of recording "I read more books," note the number of pages read or chapters completed. Each metric should reflect a specific outcome tied directly to a target. Clear measurements allow the mind to recognize patterns, evaluate efficiency, and identify the impact of behavior on progress. Consistency is essential in both recording and reviewing progress. A single measurement provides a snapshot, but repeated tracking over multiple weeks creates a trajectory. Patterns that reveal strengths, weaknesses, and tendencies emerge only through regular observation. By documenting progress consistently every week, a person can see not just what was accomplished, but how efforts evolve over time. Weekly tracking provides rhythm, a natural interval to step back, evaluate, and plan adjustments without overwhelming daily operations. It transforms fleeting observations into structured knowledge. The method of tracking should be simple yet precise. Complicated systems or cumbersome tools create resistance and reduce adherence. A basic journal, spreadsheet, or dedicated application is sufficient, provided it captures the critical metrics clearly and reliably. Each entry should be dated and record the specific outputs, actions taken, challenges encountered, and any deviations from planned behavior. Simplicity ensures the process is sustainable and integrates seamlessly into weekly routines. When tracking becomes habitual, it no longer feels like an obligation but a necessary component of disciplined progress. Reflection is the bridge between measurement and improvement. At the end of each week, review the recorded data objectively. Identify patterns, which strategies consistently produce results, which efforts fall short, and where time or energy was misallocated. Avoid judgment or self-criticism. Instead, focus on understanding causality and refining approaches. Reflection converts raw data into actionable insight, guiding decisions for the following week. It strengthens awareness and helps create strategies that are increasingly effective and aligned with long-term objectives. Set benchmarks to make weekly tracking meaningful. Benchmarks act as reference points against which progress is compared. They provide context to numbers, turning raw data into an evaluative tool. For example, if the goal is to write 3,000 words per week, the benchmark indicates whether the weekly output meets, exceeds, or falls short of expectations. This creates a concrete frame of reference and allows informed adjustments. Benchmarks prevent complacency, keeping the focus on continuous improvement rather than isolated wins or losses. Incorporate qualitative assessment alongside quantitative metrics. Numbers alone do not tell the whole story. Include observations about energy levels, emotional state, engagement, and overall efficiency. Did certain tasks feel effortless or exhausting? Was motivation consistent or fluctuating? How did external factors affect performance? Qualitative notes provide nuance, revealing subtleties that numeric tracking alone might miss. Combining quantitative and qualitative feedback ensures a comprehensive understanding of progress and a more complete picture of personal development. Use weekly tracking to inform planning. The data collected is not static. It should actively shape the upcoming week. Adjust task allocation, priorities, and strategies based on what the records reveal. If certain efforts consistently yield minimal results, either modify them or replace them with more effective alternatives. If certain approaches produce disproportionate success, expand them. Weekly review transforms passive record-keeping into an adaptive system that strengthens decision-making, increases efficiency, and accelerates results. Consistency also reinforces accountability. Tracking creates an externalized record of effort that cannot be ignored. It becomes a mirror reflecting whether intentions align with actions. When progress is documented visibly, it is harder to rationalize inaction or overlook lapses. This axialization strengthens self-discipline, ensuring that the habits being developed are reinforced by objective evidence. The knowledge that work is being recorded motivates continuous engagement and discourages neglect. Celebrate incremental progress. Weekly tracking reveals even minor advancements that might otherwise go unnoticed. Recognizing small achievements strengthens motivation and confidence, reinforcing the habit of consistent effort. These celebrations do not require extravagance. A mental acknowledgement, journal entry, or brief reflection is sufficient. Small wins compound, building a sense of competence and momentum that propels larger achievements. Tracking weekly ensures that incremental progress is visible, tangible, and emotionally reinforcing. Anticipate obstacles and note them during weekly review. Identify recurring disruptions, periods of fatigue, or environmental factors that consistently reduce efficiency. Understanding these challenges allows proactive planning to mitigate their impact. Weekly tracking becomes a tool for strategic intervention rather than a passive record of shortcomings. By anticipating barriers and learning from patterns, resilience is built, and the capacity to maintain consistency, even under difficult circumstances, increases. Incorporate comparisons for perspective. Weekly tracking can reveal trends that are not immediately obvious in daily observation. Compare performance across multiple weeks to identify growth trajectories, plateaus, or regressions. Longitudinal comparison provides insight into whether interventions are effective, whether motivation is increasing or waning, and whether goals remain realistic. This perspective ensures that decisions are informed by trends rather than short-term fluctuations, making the process of improvement strategic and deliberate. Document lessons learned. Each week provides a chance to record insights about what works, what does not, and why. These lessons accumulate over time, forming a repository of knowledge about personal behavior, productivity strategies, and effective approaches. This archive becomes invaluable for decision-making, helping refine methods and optimize future performance. Tracking is not just about numbers, it is about continuous learning and building an evidence-based understanding of oneself. Link weekly tracking to long-term goals. Each entry should be viewed in the context of broader objectives. How does this week's progress contribute to monthly, quarterly, or yearly goals? Linking daily actions and weekly results to overarching ambitions reinforces purpose and creates a sense of direction. When progress is measured in relation to long-term aims, weekly tracking becomes a strategic compass rather than a mere record-keeping exercise. This alignment ensures that effort is intentional and meaningful. Maintain flexibility without losing consistency. Life is unpredictable, and strict adherence to rigid plans can create unnecessary stress. Weekly tracking accommodates adjustments while maintaining accountability. If circumstances shift, metrics can be modified or goals adapted, but the habit of reflection and measurement continues. Flexibility allows resilience, ensuring that discipline is maintained without rigidity and that progress continues even when external factors challenge the schedule. The cumulative effect of consistent weekly tracking is transformative. Over time, patterns become clear, strategies are refined, and self-awareness deepens. Every week provides an opportunity to learn, adjust, and improve. The discipline of consistent measurement reinforces accountability, motivates sustained effort, and ensures that growth is deliberate and continuous. It is a process that converts scattered action into deliberate progress, making improvement visible, manageable, and controllable. Tracking progress consistently every week creates a structure that strengthens discipline, sharpens focus, and empowers decision-making. It converts abstract goals into measurable realities, fosters insight into behavior, and ensures that effort is continuously aligned with outcomes. The regular practice of observation, reflection, and adjustment transforms incremental effort into substantial long-term achievement. Consistency in tracking is not merely a habit, it is a powerful tool for growth, shaping both the trajectory of progress and the character of the individual pursuing it. Number 7. Embrace discomfort to grow faster. Growth never happens in a state of comfort. The mind, body, and spirit expand only when they are challenged, when familiar patterns are disrupted, and when resistance is confronted directly. Discomfort signals progress because it means the limits of current ability are being tested. Avoiding discomfort is instinctual. It feels safe and easy, but it guarantees stagnation. Embracing discomfort is a deliberate choice to move toward difficulty, knowing that each moment of struggle strengthens resilience, sharpens focus, and accelerates personal development. Transformation begins where comfort ends. The first step in embracing discomfort is identifying areas where avoidance has become habitual. Most people retreat from challenges without consciously realizing it. Skipping a difficult conversation, postponing a demanding task, or avoiding physical strain all fall into this pattern. Recognize the moments where fear, laziness, or uncertainty is dictating action. Awareness is the foundation of change. Once these moments are identified, they become opportunities rather than obstacles. Discomfort is not punishment, it is a signal pointing toward growth. Commit to intentional exposure. Deliberately seek experiences that feel uncomfortable yet constructive. This may mean tackling tasks that push skills beyond current ability, engaging in exercises that strain endurance, or having conversations that challenge social ease. Each deliberate encounter with discomfort teaches the mind to tolerate tension, analyze fear rationally, and respond effectively rather than react passively. Controlled exposure gradually increases the ability to function under pressure and strengthens the neural pathways associated with resilience. Shift perspective on failure and struggle. Discomfort often accompanies mistakes, setbacks, or initial inadequacy. Rather than interpreting these as reasons to withdraw, view them as indicators of progress. Struggle is evidence of learning and growth. Each challenge faced, each failure endured, contributes to skill acquisition, confidence, and competence. Reframing difficulty as a necessary component of improvement reduces avoidance behavior and fosters a mindset oriented toward solutions rather than excuses. Develop mental discipline to endure short-term unease for long-term gain. The human mind is wired to seek immediate gratification and avoid pain, which makes short-term discomfort feel threatening. Training the mind to tolerate temporary tension requires focus, self-control, and repetition. Start with manageable challenges that stretch capacity without overwhelming it. Gradually increase the intensity or duration of these challenges. Over time, the nervous system and cognitive processes adapt, making the ability to endure discomfort a habit rather than a struggle. Physical discipline complements mental adaptation. The body responds to controlled strain by strengthening muscles, stamina, and resilience. Engaging in activities that push physical limits, running longer distances, lifting heavier weights, or holding challenging postures, creates a direct correlation between discomfort and improvement. Physical discomfort trains patience, persistence, and self-confidence, which translate into mental and emotional resilience in other areas of life. Each session of controlled physical challenge reinforces the understanding that discomfort is temporary, but growth is lasting. Reframe discomfort as a teacher rather than an enemy. Anxiety, tension, and resistance are signals that reveal areas needing attention. Emotional discomfort often accompanies difficult decisions, confrontations, or opportunities for change. By examining the source of unease instead of avoiding it, insights emerge about personal limitations, biases, and untapped potential. Learning to interpret these signals transforms fear into information, enabling more deliberate choices and fostering a proactive approach to challenges rather than a reactive one. Embracing discomfort accelerates learning. Skills are developed most effectively at the edge of current ability. When a task is too easy, the mind operates in autopilot and no new adaptation occurs. When a task is difficult, the brain engages fully, forming new connections, refining strategies, and integrating feedback rapidly. Stretching beyond familiarity forces attention, creativity, and problem-solving, resulting in faster skill acquisition and deeper understanding. Discomfort becomes the accelerator of competence, condensing learning into shorter time frames. Build rituals that normalize discomfort. Regularly incorporate activities that stretch ability, provoke thought, or challenge endurance into daily routines. Small, consistent exposures compound over time, conditioning the mind to recognize tension as a natural and productive state. Over weeks and months, tasks that once felt intimidating begin to feel manageable, and confidence in facing challenges increases. The brain no longer interprets difficulty as an anomaly, but as a standard environment for action, reducing resistance and increasing productivity. Use discomfort to measure progress. Each encounter with challenge provides feedback about current capability. When a task that was once daunting becomes manageable, it signals growth. Tracking responses to uncomfortable situations reveals how strength, endurance, and skill evolve over time. Discomfort becomes a diagnostic tool. Areas where unease is persistent indicate the need for further development, while reduction in tension reflects improvement. Awareness of progress reinforces motivation and validates continued effort. Cultivate emotional resilience through confrontation with unease. Emotional discomfort often manifests as fear, rejection, embarrassment, or uncertainty. Facing these emotions intentionally, whether in social interactions, creative expression, or leadership challenges, strengthens emotional intelligence and tolerance. Each successful engagement with difficult emotions expands the ability to navigate complex situations calmly and effectively. Emotional resilience, cultivated in small doses, accumulates, creating confidence in handling increasingly challenging circumstances. Pair discomfort with reflection. After facing a difficult situation, spend time analyzing what occurred, how it felt, and what was learned. Reflection transforms raw experience into insight, helping the mind extract maximum value from each challenge. Understanding emotional and cognitive reactions to tension enhances self-awareness, clarifies priorities, and informs strategies for future growth. The combination of action under discomfort and deliberate reflection produces both skill development and personal insight simultaneously. Embrace accountability to reinforce engagement with discomfort. When challenges are shared or overseen by mentors, peers, or structured systems, the pressure to act is heightened. External accountability encourages follow-through when internal motivation wanes. Sharing goals or committing to visible action creates stakes that make avoidance less appealing. Accountability ensures that encounters with discomfort are not skipped or minimized, reinforcing the habit of facing difficulty proactively rather than reactively. Recognize the temporary nature of discomfort. One of the primary barriers to growth is overestimating the intensity or duration of unease. The mind often magnifies anticipated discomfort, creating resistance before action even begins. By understanding that tension is transient, manageable, and proportional to effort, courage is cultivated to engage with challenges. Each confrontation confirms the temporary nature of discomfort and builds confidence to tackle increasingly demanding situations without paralysis. Link discomfort to long-term purpose. Understanding why a challenging task matters strengthens the willingness to endure unease. If the effort connects to a meaningful objective, such as skill mastery, career advancement, physical health, or personal growth, the temporary discomfort gains significance. Purpose transforms unpleasant experiences into investments in future capability. Motivation is amplified when short-term tension is contextualized within a broader vision of success, reinforcing the decision to engage rather than avoid. Gradually escalate difficulty for continuous growth. Complacency arises when challenges remain static and predictable. Incremental increases in complexity, intensity, or duration ensure that the mind and body remain on edge and continue adapting. Controlled escalation allows the individual to expand capacity safely and sustainably, maintaining engagement with discomfort while avoiding overwhelm. Each step beyond comfort reinforces resilience, expands capability, and builds confidence to confront even greater challenges over time. Develop mental narratives that value effort over ease. Celebrate actions taken despite discomfort rather than waiting for perfect conditions. The mindset shift from seeking comfort to valuing engagement strengthens determination and persistence. Each choice to act under tension reinforces a self-image of courage, adaptability, and growth orientation. Over time, this internal narrative supports proactive behavior, reducing avoidance and increasing capacity for meaningful achievement. Embracing discomfort accelerates transformation by turning challenges into opportunities for learning, resilience, and strength. Every experience that stretches capacity physically, mentally, or emotionally reinforces neural pathways associated with growth and competence. Repeated exposure to tension conditions the mind to tolerate, analyze, and respond effectively, while reflection and purpose amplify the benefit. By consistently choosing to step into unease, skills are honed, character is fortified, and progress is catalyzed. Discomfort becomes a teacher, a mirror, and a tool, transforming effort into accelerated growth, making the path to achievement deliberate, intentional, and inevitable. Number 8. Replace laziness with structured routines. Laziness is not simply a lack of energy. It is a pattern of inaction reinforced by habit. It thrives on uncertainty, unstructured days, and the absence of clear expectations. To overcome it, the mind requires a framework, a disciplined structure that transforms idle moments into purposeful action. Structured routines replace hesitation with momentum, unpredictability with consistency, and passivity with engagement. The shift from laziness to disciplined action is not instantaneous. It is cultivated deliberately through consistent planning, mindful execution, and habitual reinforcement. Establishing routines creates the conditions in which effort becomes automatic rather than optional. Begin by assessing current patterns. Identify periods of inactivity, tasks repeatedly postponed, or situations where procrastination dominates. Recognize the triggers that lead to laziness, unclear expectations, excessive choices, fatigue, or emotional avoidance. Awareness is the first step because unexamined habits continue unnoticed, allowing laziness to flourish. Mapping these patterns provides a foundation for designing routines that interrupt inertia, replacing aimless behavior with purposeful sequences of action. Define core activities that structure the day. These activities should align with goals, responsibilities, and personal development priorities. Daily routines are most effective when they contain consistent elements such as exercise, focused work, skill development, reflection, and rest. Each segment becomes a predictable anchor in the day, reducing decision fatigue and creating momentum. The clarity of expectation diminishes hesitation and fosters confidence because the mind knows what must be done and when. Set precise timing for each activity. A routine without temporal boundaries invites delay and inconsistency. Assign specific start and end times to critical tasks, allocating attention to priority objectives before secondary or trivial matters. Timing enforces accountability and creates a rhythm in which progress is visible and measurable. Over time, adherence to scheduled intervals trains the mind to anticipate and engage in productive activity automatically, reducing reliance on motivation, which is inconsistent by nature. Combine habits into sequences to enhance efficiency. Structured routines are most powerful when tasks flow logically from one to another. For instance, starting with physical activity may energize the mind, followed by focused work, and then skill practice. These sequences leverage momentum, reducing the mental effort required to transition between tasks. Patterns create a sense of natural progression, making productivity habitual rather than forced. Each segment primes the next, transforming daily activity into a coherent, purposeful journey. Use micro-rituals to signal transitions. Laziness often occurs during unstructured transitions between tasks, when the mind is momentarily idle. Simple rituals, such as stretching, reviewing the next objective, or preparing the workspace, act as cues that focus is expected and action is required. These signals reduce friction between inactivity and effort, conditioning the brain to associate small preparatory steps with sustained engagement. Micro-rituals bridge gaps and maintain the continuity of structured routines. Prioritize tasks according to importance and impact. Structured routines should emphasize high-value activities over trivial or reactive tasks. Laziness often arises when energy is wasted on low-impact activities or when the mind feels overwhelmed by ambiguity. Clearly defining priorities reduces procrastination and ensures that effort contributes meaningfully to long-term goals. Each day's routine becomes a deliberate alignment of energy, attention, and purpose, minimizing wasted potential and reinforcing productive behavior. Incorporate buffer periods strategically. Rigidity can backfire, creating resistance or stress when plans are disrupted. Including short windows of flexibility allows adaptation to unforeseen circumstances while maintaining overall structure. Buffer periods prevent minor interruptions from derailing the routine and provide opportunities for recovery or reflection without reverting to idle behavior. Balanced structuring maintains discipline while accommodating the reality of an unpredictable environment. Track adherence to the routine. Consistency is reinforced by observation. Maintain a log of completed tasks, start times, duration, and deviations. Reviewing this record weekly illuminates patterns of compliance, identifies weak points where laziness persists, and offers insight into the effectiveness of the routine. Monitoring progress fosters accountability, strengthens commitment, and makes the benefits of disciplined action tangible. Tracking transforms routine from a concept into a measurable tool for self-improvement. Reward compliance to reinforce structure. Small incentives, such as short breaks, enjoyable activities, or acknowledgement of effort, create positive reinforcement. Rewards do not need to be extravagant. Their purpose is to solidify the association between action and satisfaction. This psychological reinforcement encourages repetition, gradually transforming disciplined behavior into an internalized habit. Over time, structured routines become self-reinforcing, reducing reliance on external motivation. Build routines incrementally to ensure sustainability. Overloading the day with too many tasks initially creates overwhelm and invites relapse into laziness. Start with a few core activities, master their execution, and gradually expand. Incremental growth strengthens adherence, builds confidence, and establishes a foundation for more complex daily structures. Habits formed in manageable increments are more likely to endure, making long-term discipline achievable rather than daunting. Link routines to broader life goals. Every structured sequence should be purpose-driven. The act of completing daily tasks gains significance when connected to long-term objectives, such as career advancement, skill mastery, or personal growth. Awareness of purpose transforms mundane actions into meaningful contributions to one's vision. Motivation is reinforced because effort is not arbitrary, but aligned with a larger trajectory, ensuring that routines serve as a bridge between present action and future achievement. Optimize environmental factors to support routines. Physical spaces, digital organization, and accessibility of tools influence adherence. Arrange surroundings so essential resources are at hand, distractions are minimized, and transitions are smooth. The environment either supports or undermines structured behavior. Deliberate design reduces reliance on willpower and minimizes opportunities for laziness. A prepared environment transforms intention into action with minimal friction. Embrace accountability measures. Sharing routines with mentors, peers, or supportive communities strengthens adherence. External observation provides subtle pressure to maintain consistency, while feedback reinforces progress and encourages adjustment. Accountability supplements internal discipline, ensuring that structured routines are followed even when internal motivation fluctuates. Social reinforcement amplifies commitment and embeds routines more firmly into daily practice. Reflect regularly on the effectiveness of routines. Weekly or monthly review of adherence, efficiency, and outcomes identifies areas for adjustment. Certain segments may require modification, timing may need recalibration, or priorities may shift. Reflection ensures that routines remain dynamic and effective rather than rigid and obsolete. Continuous evaluation prevents stagnation and reinforces the alignment of structured behavior with evolving goals. Address resistance proactively. Laziness often manifests as mental negotiation, excuses, or avoidance. Recognize these impulses as signals of the need for structured reinforcement rather than reasons to yield. Engage with resistance by recommitting to the routine, adjusting approach where necessary, and maintaining focus on intended outcomes. Discipline is strengthened by confronting inertia directly rather than allowing it to dictate behavior. Celebrate consistency over perfection. Structured routines are not about flawless execution, but about regular adherence. Occasional deviations do not erase progress. They are opportunities to refine and reinforce commitment. Recognizing consistent effort builds confidence, strengthens habit formation, and reduces fear of failure, which often contributes to laziness. The emphasis is on habitual engagement rather than unattainable perfection. Incorporate variety to sustain engagement. Repetitive routines can become monotonous, weakening adherence. Introduce variation in tasks, sequences, or environments while maintaining core structure. Balanced novelty maintains interest, prevents mental fatigue, and enhances adaptability, ensuring that routines remain stimulating rather than stifling. This approach strengthens long-term adherence by combining stability with flexibility. Structured routines gradually replace laziness with automatic engagement. Once habits are embedded, effort becomes predictable, decision fatigue is minimized, and the mind naturally transitions into productive states. Momentum builds cumulatively, turning each completed task into fuel for subsequent action. Over time, the structure of daily routines transforms the experience of effort from a challenge into a habitual pattern, creating sustained achievement and fostering a disciplined lifestyle. Replacing laziness with structured routines is the deliberate engineering of one's environment, behavior, and mind to favor action over inaction. By combining clarity of purpose, defined tasks, temporal boundaries, environmental optimization, accountability, reflection, and incremental growth, the mind is trained to operate efficiently, resist procrastination, and maintain consistency. Structured routines convert uncertainty into predictable progress, habitualize discipline, and create a framework in which effort becomes automatic, measurable, and aligned with meaningful personal growth. Number 9. Learn from failures. Adjust strategies. Failure is often feared and avoided, yet it is one of the most powerful tools for growth and achievement. Every failure contains information, feedback, and insight that success cannot provide. Learning from failures is not a matter of chance. It requires deliberate reflection, honest evaluation, and strategic adjustment. The mind must shift from viewing failure as a verdict on ability to seeing it as a signal for recalibration. Each misstep is a lesson embedded in experience, offering the opportunity to refine methods, strengthen resilience, and improve outcomes. The first step is to embrace failure with clarity and objectivity. Avoid the trap of emotional reaction that clouds judgment. Fear, shame, or frustration can obscure the lessons embedded within setbacks. Take a step back and observe the situation without personal judgment. Objectivity allows the identification of actionable insights, separating external circumstances from internal decisions and behaviors. By examining failures as data rather than as personal shortcomings, the mind becomes equipped to extract meaningful strategies for future action. Identify the root causes. Superficial analysis only scratches the surface and leaves the same mistakes likely to recur. Ask pointed questions. What decisions contributed to this outcome? Which actions were effective and which were ineffective? Were there external factors beyond control? And how can they be mitigated next time? Understanding cause and effect relationships ensures that adjustments target the actual sources of failure rather than symptoms. Root cause analysis transforms vague disappointment into clear, actionable understanding. Adopt a growth-oriented mindset. Recognize that abilities, skills, and strategies are malleable and capable of improvement. Failure is not evidence of incapacity, but an invitation to learn. Viewing setbacks as opportunities encourages experimentation, risk-taking, and perseverance. A growth-oriented approach reframes errors as essential feedback rather than irreversible defeat, fostering resilience and the courage to continue pursuing meaningful objectives despite obstacles. Document lessons learned. Writing down insights from failure ensures clarity and retention. Record what happened, what contributed to the outcome, and what can be changed. Create a tangible reference that can guide future decisions. This practice externalizes thought, prevents repetition of errors, and builds a repository of strategic knowledge. Over time, these notes form a personalized playbook for navigating challenges, enhancing decision-making and optimizing performance. Adjust strategies systematically. Learning from failure is ineffective if it does not lead to change. Review existing methods and identify where modifications can improve results. This might involve altering processes, refining timing, reallocating resources, or developing new skills. Effective adjustment requires specificity. Vague intentions like "do better" are insufficient. Targeted adjustments translate lessons into actionable steps that increase the probability of success in subsequent attempts. Experiment deliberately. Controlled experimentation allows testing of adjusted strategies without overwhelming risk. Approach failures as hypotheses rather than final outcomes. Implement changes incrementally. Observe results and iterate. This structured approach transforms failure into an experimental framework where each setback becomes a controlled trial informing the next move. The process creates continuous improvement and ensures that mistakes generate productive learning rather than frustration. Cultivate emotional resilience. Failure often triggers discomfort, self-doubt, or discouragement. Strengthening the ability to endure these emotions is crucial for maintaining clarity and focus during reflection. Techniques such as mindful breathing, journaling, or structured reflection help manage emotional responses, allowing analysis to occur from a balanced perspective. Resilience ensures that setbacks are used as tools for development rather than triggers for withdrawal or inaction. Seek external feedback. Others can provide perspectives that are difficult to perceive independently. Mentors, colleagues, or peers may identify blind spots, overlooked patterns, or alternative approaches. Constructive critique complements self-analysis, providing additional layers of insight. Integrating external feedback with personal reflection enhances the quality of adjustments and increases the likelihood of more effective strategies in future endeavors. Develop a proactive approach to risk. Learning from failure is enhanced when setbacks are anticipated as potential outcomes rather than surprises. Evaluate decisions in advance, identify possible points of failure, and plan contingencies. This preparation does not eliminate failure, but equips the mind to respond strategically rather than reactively. Proactive risk management allows failure to function as a learning mechanism rather than an uncontrolled event, increasing confidence in facing challenges. Reflect on patterns over time. Individual failures are instructive, but observing trends reveals systemic weaknesses or recurring mistakes. Regularly analyze multiple setbacks to identify persistent behaviors, decision-making flaws, or environmental influences that consistently hinder success. Recognizing patterns enables targeted interventions that produce long-term improvements, ensuring that lessons from isolated failures scale into meaningful growth. Separate identity from outcome. The experience of failure can feel personal, but equating mistakes with self-worth is destructive. Maintain perspective. Failure is a reflection of process, circumstances, or execution, not an intrinsic measure of ability or value. This separation protects motivation, fosters resilience, and allows lessons to be integrated constructively. When identity is independent of outcome, setbacks become temporary guides rather than enduring judgments. Integrate small adjustments consistently. Large, sweeping changes in response to failure are often unsustainable and overwhelming. Instead, apply incremental modifications based on lessons learned. Gradual adjustments allow adaptation, testing, and mastery over time. This iterative approach ensures that learning is practical, sustainable, and deeply embedded into behavior, producing enduring improvement rather than temporary fixes. Maintain accountability throughout the learning process. Tracking changes implemented after failure reinforces commitment to improvement. Monitor adherence to revised strategies, evaluate effectiveness, and note outcomes. Accountability, whether personal or external, transforms reflection into action and ensures that lessons from failure translate into tangible progress. Consistent oversight strengthens discipline and accelerates the application of insights. Celebrate resilience and adaptation. Recognizing the courage to learn from failure and adjust behavior strengthens self-efficacy. Each setback navigated successfully reinforces confidence in one's ability to overcome challenges. Celebration is not indulgence but acknowledgement of effort, persistence, and strategic growth. Positive reinforcement encourages continued engagement with difficult tasks and maintains motivation for improvement. Embrace iterative refinement as a principle. Success rarely comes from a single attempt. It is the product of continuous adaptation, learning, and adjustment. Each failure provides data, insight, and experience to refine strategies incrementally. Viewing progress as an evolving process rather than a fixed goal transforms failure from an endpoint into a stepping stone. Iterative refinement ensures that improvement compounds over time, leveraging every misstep as a catalyst for advancement. Develop mental flexibility. Learning from failure requires openness to change and the willingness to abandon strategies that are ineffective. Rigidity in approach prevents adaptation and perpetuates repeated mistakes. Cultivating flexibility allows for rapid adjustment, creative problem-solving, and responsiveness to unforeseen circumstances. A flexible mindset transforms failure from a barrier into a guide for smarter, more effective action. Document long-term insights. Over time, accumulated lessons from multiple failures form a comprehensive understanding of personal strengths, weaknesses, and strategic preferences. This archive informs future planning, enhances decision-making, and builds a framework for success. Systematic documentation converts isolated failures into a cumulative advantage, turning past setbacks into a strategic reservoir of wisdom. Apply lessons beyond the immediate context. Failure in one area often reveals transferable principles applicable elsewhere. Strategies learned, patterns identified, and skills developed can influence decision-making, problem-solving, and resilience in other domains. Treat failures as versatile tools, extending insights to multiple aspects of personal, professional, and relational life. Broad application magnifies the impact of learning from mistakes. Learning from failures and adjusting strategies transforms the experience of setback into a dynamic process of growth. Each misstep provides insight, opportunity, and direction for improvement. Reflection, systematic adjustment, incremental implementation, and resilience ensure that lessons are internalized and applied effectively. Over time, repeated engagement with failure strengthens judgment, hones skill, and deepens understanding. The process turns obstacles into catalysts, mistakes into guidance, and failures into stepping stones towards sustained achievement and meaningful mastery. Number 10. Commit publicly to boost accountability. Accountability is a critical force in achieving goals, but it is often underutilized because it requires vulnerability and trust. Committing publicly transforms intention into obligation, creating a social and psychological framework that strengthens follow-through. When goals are shared with others, the act of making them visible establishes external expectations, motivating action even when internal motivation wanes. Public commitment leverages human nature, the desire for consistency, the avoidance of embarrassment, and the recognition of responsibility. By exposing intentions to observation, accountability becomes a structural tool that reinforces discipline, persistence, and measurable progress. Begin by clearly defining the goal you intend to commit to. Vague intentions are ineffective when made public because they create ambiguity in both personal expectation and social perception. A concrete goal is specific, measurable, and time-bound. For example, stating, "I will write 500 words daily for the next month," provides clarity, sets expectations, and establishes a benchmark for accountability. The more precise the commitment, the easier it is for others and yourself to observe and track progress, reinforcing the sense of responsibility. Choose the right audience for the commitment. Public accountability is effective when directed toward people who care about your progress, have the ability to observe it, or can provide meaningful feedback. This could include friends, family, colleagues, mentors, or online communities with shared objectives. The key is that the audience is not passive. Their awareness and potential engagement create the psychological pressure that motivates adherence. Knowing that others are watching and may inquire about results strengthens commitment and reduces the likelihood of neglecting the goal. Articulate the commitment clearly and unambiguously. When sharing a goal publicly, provide context, milestones, and desired outcomes. Explain why the objective matters and what success looks like. Transparency fosters credibility and reinforces the seriousness of the intention. It also establishes a shared understanding with the audience, allowing them to track progress, offer support, and provide constructive feedback when appropriate. Clear communication ensures that accountability is enforceable and actionable rather than symbolic or superficial. Implement mechanisms for reporting progress. Public commitment works best when the audience can observe tangible updates. This may include regular check-ins, progress posts, or scheduled meetings. Consistently reporting progress demonstrates adherence to the commitment and sustains engagement, both for yourself and for those observing. When others can track developments, even minor accomplishments, the social and psychological pressure to continue increases, reinforcing consistency and reducing procrastination. Leverage social reinforcement as motivation. Humans are naturally responsive to recognition, approval, and validation. By committing publicly, achievements gain visibility, making success socially rewarding. The desire to maintain credibility encourages sustained effort, and acknowledgement from others amplifies motivation. Positive reinforcement strengthens the neural pathways associated with discipline, making the habit of follow-through more automatic over time. Public accountability transforms internal effort into a socially reinforced behavior. Prepare for obstacles and communicate challenges transparently. Public commitment does not eliminate setbacks, rather it frames them in a context of responsibility. When obstacles arise, acknowledging them to the audience maintains credibility and encourages constructive support. Sharing difficulties also provides an opportunity for collaborative problem-solving, insight, and advice. Transparent communication reinforces accountability while fostering resilience and adaptive strategies in the pursuit of goals. Use commitment as a catalyst for behavioral consistency. Once a goal is public, hesitation and procrastination carry social consequences, whether subtle or direct. The awareness of external observation motivates adherence even in moments when personal discipline falters. By consistently acting in alignment with publicly declared intentions, the mind internalizes the behavior, transforming external accountability into an internalized habit. Over time, the discipline cultivated through public commitment becomes self-sustaining. Pair public commitment with measurable benchmarks. Transparency is reinforced when progress is tangible and trackable. Define milestones, deadlines, or metrics that allow both you and the audience to observe advancement clearly. Whether it is numerical targets, task completion, or qualitative outcomes, concrete benchmarks create objective evidence of effort. This reduces ambiguity, enhances credibility, and enables informed feedback from others, strengthening the cycle of accountability and improvement. Build supportive networks to sustain engagement. Accountability is most effective in environments where encouragement, constructive critique, and shared objectives are present. Surrounding yourself with individuals pursuing similar goals or maintaining complementary disciplines creates a culture of mutual reinforcement. In such environments, public commitment is amplified through collective focus, shared motivation, and reciprocal observation. The network functions as both a mirror and a guide, reflecting progress and offering direction when obstacles arise. Document progress and lessons learned publicly. Sharing updates not only reinforces personal commitment, but also creates a record of growth, setbacks, and adaptive strategies. This documentation enhances reflection, provides evidence of effort, and allows both you and observers to track the evolution of performance. Transparency in reporting solidifies credibility, promotes engagement, and reinforces the habit of action-oriented follow-through, making public commitment a multidimensional tool for improvement. Integrate accountability into long-term planning. Public commitments should align with broader objectives, ensuring that social exposure reinforces meaningful action rather than trivial tasks. Reinforce consistency with ritualized reporting. Establish predictable intervals for sharing updates, reflecting on progress, and acknowledging outcomes. Whether daily, weekly, or milestone-based, structured reporting creates rhythm and embeds the habit into routine behavior. Ritualization reduces friction, strengthens adherence, and ensures that accountability functions continuously rather than sporadically. Repetition cultivates both discipline and reliability, cementing the habit of follow-through. Reflect on progress publicly to consolidate learning. Each update, report, or acknowledgement of achievement provides an opportunity to internalize lessons, reinforce strategies, and celebrate milestones. Public reflection amplifies understanding of what works, identifies areas for improvement, and enhances motivation through recognition. The act of sharing consolidates knowledge, transforms experience into insight, and reinforces the behavioral patterns necessary for continued progress. Commitment made publicly magnifies both the responsibility and the reward of action. It leverages human psychology, social dynamics, and visibility to enforce discipline, reduce procrastination, and sustain effort. Through deliberate communication, structured reporting, and consistent engagement, goals are transformed from abstract intentions into socially reinforced obligations. Public accountability bridges the gap between desire and action, turning potential into measurable achievement. By embracing transparency, sharing progress, and maintaining integrity, the practice of committing publicly catalyzes discipline, strengthens resilience, and accelerates the realization of meaningful objectives.